Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to start a new fence. I got plans for a fence, maybe some pictures here, maybe some pictures here. It's a lovely decorative fence at this historic house we've been doing a lot of work at. And you don't just buy pickets because it's 2x2 pickets, actually measure 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. But just saying that, I don't want the factory rounded edge. So I got to cut every single edge because of my choice, because I think the house demands a certain amount of integrity in what's being brought into the house. And in this case, they had an old wrought iron fence that was falling apart, and there was, it had a look, that's fine. We're building a new wooden fence that some designer designed. It's similar to other fences in the area. And what we're going to do, maybe I'll hang on to this, the first big step before I get to the job, because we can't just buy these pickets. You can buy 2x2 pickets, but they're a little bit, it doesn't matter if the dimensions are off a little bit, but they're all rounded over and they're all kind of swirly, and this house deserves a better fence than that. So we're taking 2x6s, 16 footers. We start off, I started cutting, and I only had 5 of them on hand. I ordered some more to be delivered, but I set my stop block up at 34 inches, which is the safe number for what I need. And I cut a bunch of blanks at 34 inches. Now we're going to rip one clean edge on everything, and then make 3 pieces out of each of these that are 1.5 by 1.5 with all 4 clean edges. And I'm even going to get a brand new blade. This blade's okay, but a fresh blade, 60-tooth blade on it, which is overkill, but that's what I like because it limits the saw marks, the chatter on the edge, on the saw cuts and all the rips. Because I'm making so many rips, there's going to be 400 pickets total. I'm setting up, I have set up my overhead collection, which is just, it's going to help. There's underneath collection and there's overhead collection. It's going to help tremendously controlling the dust here. And that's basically it. We're going to cut all the pickets, and then we're going to go to the job and set 6x6 posts everywhere. It's only 48 inches tall. But it's, like I said, it's been designed by a designer and approved by not only the city, but by the historical foundation. So we need to do it as the plans have drawn it out. So first step, I got my blade set at 5 3/8. That's enough to cut off any edge here. In my first step, I look at everything, and if there's a better side or worse side, I'm going to put the worst side against the fence and cut the better side. That will ensure that I don't want to cut the bad side and leave a bad edge. So my main intention here is just ripping off 1/8 of an inch or so. It's going to be a lot of ripping. We're going to make a lot of sawdust. I just emptied my dust container. So anyway, the first step is to rip this edge, and then eventually we'll turn it around and rip everything at 1.5 inches. And then we're going to come back after that's done, and we're going to put a little 4-sided dog eater on everything. So we're going to have to set up a stop block and set up the correct miter and cut 4 times. And it's like 400 pickets. So it's going to take a bit. It's all part of the job to get a nice fence. So let's continue. one thing I wanted to point out as I put the first edge on these. This little section here has not had the first edge yet. This section has. As I bring the next board over, it's got a really bad, it's got a little bit of wane on both sides, but most of the bad part is on this side. So what we're doing is we're applying the first edge. So I'm going to spin this one around, and we're going to cut the first edge here, which is actually going to take a decent amount of that small wane off. So this part we're not going to worry about. This part is our first good edge. And once we start ripping these to 1.5 inches, you know, there's a little bit there, but that could always be at the bottom. It could be turned away from the most visual area. Here's a little problem here. That's going to have to be turned to the side, bottom, back, whatever. But our first step with all of these, it's kind of like the outdoor furniture. The first step, the first cut, you have to pay attention to what you're doing and not just cut one edge anywhere, but it needs to be a meaningful cut, which is going to help the future cuts. And in this case, we're going to have 2 additional rips on every 2x6. So, and then we're going to end up with a piece that's about 3/4 inch long or wide or thick. And in this case, that 3/4 inch or so, the final waste is going to be this waned board that we don't want anywhere. So if we include it in our known area of waste, we're not wasting, are we? No. So it's just a 2 cents I wanted to throw in there as we cut all of these. Here's one also. I've cut the first edge on this side and then left this ugly side, which will be on the waist. And I did the same thing here. Some boards, it doesn't matter. You pick a good side, you just pick one and go, because both sides look the same. And it's not only the edges, is there a crazy knot in this area, or is there a crazy knot in this area? Just keep it in mind as you make your cut. You want, you try to eliminate the bad spots in your final product. So, carry on. So I'm making all these pickets, but I need to transport them. I can't just, I'm going to do that. So I had an idea. And I've done this with scrap material. I make this little doohickey, and this is just a stretcher. I'm going to line this up kind of like that, and temporarily put a few brads in it. Put a few marks to center it. Close enough. And I want to put a few screws in it so it doesn't come loose. A little flimsy. Let me get a few screws. I got these pocket hole screws, which ought to bite pretty well. Just to keep it from collapsing. Place the pickets in there. I measured it to go 5 wide and 5 high. And I can straighten it out a little bit. little shrink wrap. There you have a bundle that I can load in the truck. I could drop them at different locations at the job site. Knowing that there's 25 in each one, it helps me keep track of how many I have. So I'm going to do that. So we need to continue cutting.
So here we go. The fence is finally complete. And they planted some Peggy Martins against some of the posts here in the front. Got the double gate installed. A very unassuming gate. No hardware exposed in the front. You see some angled braces. And there's a latch like this. Pops right open. I got a drop rod there. Nice look, flows with the fence very nicely. On this side, I have a little angled return back to this stucco column of the neighbors, just to keep any animals out. And another little return here to the other neighbor's fence. Looking good, my friend. And there's the carved lady. Thanks for checking this out. I appreciate all the views. Please add any comments, and we'll see you on the next one.